Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Tuesday, August 27th. That makes this the news for the day, Monday, August 26th, day 915 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. And before we get started, I want to make a special thank you to the sponsors of last week's Kyiv trip. It was a very meaningful trip for me, and I have some more reflections from that trip coming up today. So the sponsors of tonight's live and the sponsors of the Kyiv trip include David Frazier, who actually dragged my ass there. Did the whole 11 hours worth of driving because I don't drive a standard. Thank you, David. And he's from UA Flag Tesla. Check him out. Tom Bates, M. Fuller, Leo Ring, Roy Daniels, and Chris Carter all made the Kyiv trip possible, and I'm deeply appreciative to all of you. Thank you. And today, this is the news from Monday, August 26th, day 915 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. I'm Peter Alexievich, and I see the folks are coming in. Hey, Mel. Hey, Samso. That was funny, dude. That was some funny shit. My first comment was filtered by TikTok, but that was funny shit. Hey, Clay. Hey, Joey the Lips. Nightshade is here. Nightshade, of course, has the Peter's Peeps public group over on the Book of Faces. And on that group, the lives every night get reposted. So if you miss a live, you can catch it on the Peter's Peeps public page on the Book of Faces. So let's start off with the big news today. The big news today, of course, is that Russia launched the most massive missile and drone attack against the territory of Ukraine that we've seen since the start of the war. I was literally rocked out of bed at 9:37 this morning by the air defense knocking a Korean missile down near my neighborhood here. The entire building shook, and I knew we were in it, and that's all there is to it. According to the Ukrainians, the Russians launched, are you ready for this? 109 Shahed drones, 127 missiles of varying types. The total cost of today's missile and drone attack against the people of Ukraine is likely in the neighborhood of $144,250,000. So just about $145 million it cost the Russians for this little temper tantrum today. And of course, it was far more, thank you, Maddie Wright, I appreciate it. It was far more than just a temper tantrum. It knocked out critical civilian infrastructure across the country. The lights literally just came on 5 minutes before the live was due to start. And we may lose power. If we lose power, it'll just take me 2 minutes to get set up. While we're on that subject, let me just thank Dutch Cossack personally, and of course the Patreon folks who chipped in. You guys got me a power bank, and Dutch brought me another power bank with a 12-volt adapter. So during today's extended blackout, I had full internet access, I had lights, I was able to keep working uninterrupted despite the lack of power. And I am deeply appreciative to Dutch Cossack and to the Patreon supporters for making that possible. Really, it means a lot. Okay, so now, of the 109 Shaheds, right, some $27 million worth of Shaheds, 99 of them were shot down. That's a 90.8% interception rate. Huge. It appears that Putin is having a tantrum again. Of the 127 missiles, 102 were shot down. That's an 80.3% interception rate. Can you hear the air alarms? So it's starting again. Now, it's just past midnight here. So that means most folks have just gone to sleep. And right now, they're being awoken again from this. It's incoming, Walter. Yep. The power is on, Dark Irish. Just came back on, pal, about 5 minutes ago. Hey, Dan Ballard. How you doing? Now, look, the reason they do this, right? They get the air alarms going just past midnight. The Shaheds exploding just around 3 a.m., right? The reason they do this is to wear us down. This is a campaign of terror against the people of Ukraine with civilian infrastructure every day. Just in today's missile attack, the Ukrainians lost 6 people, all civilians. And that is the last count, 6. 15 regions of the country were attacked, as well as the attempted ecocide by the Russians targeting the Kyiv Dam. Thanks, Steve B. The Kyiv Dam, just north of the city of Kyiv, is a reservoir that holds back 6.7 million tons of water. Now, you blow that dam, here's what happens. Everything on the left bank of the Dnipro is washed away in the subsuming tumult. You're talking about 1 million people living right along the river there that are going to be hit by the tidal wave that comes down the river. Not to mention, all the ensuing damage and problems with clean drinking water, restoration of electricity, the health issues associated with that kind of flooding of a major metropolitan area. It's ecocide of the worst sort. And God knows the Russians are happy to do it because they can't do anything else. They cannot win on the battlefield, and so they resort to war crimes that terrorize the population and destroy the environment. That is their whole shtick. They are a one-trick pony. Last night's massive missile attack was so big that Polish aircraft were scrambled, and we had another situation where a UAV came down on NATO territory. So another drone fell into Polish territory. It's not clear whether it was shot down, whether it went off course, whether it was affected by electronic warfare. We don't know, or at least I don't know, that's for sure. Zelensky said that Kyiv promises a powerful response and suggested, for the first time to my knowledge, the use of F-16s in Kursk. Now, I don't know what that means. He wasn't clear about what that means. But is it possible that the Ukrainians are ready to start using the F-16s for close ground support? We don't know. But we'll see what happens over the next few days. Andrew Perpetua, who I don't know if you know, but he's great. He's an open source intelligence guy. When Oryx scaled back their activities, he kind of stepped in and filled that vacuum. Guy does great work. He suggested today, echoing our buddy Bobby here, for anybody that knows Bobby from San Diego, Bobby has been saying for a long time that Ukraine should start targeting Russian power infrastructure, turn the lights out in Russia. Well, Bobby, I got to tell you, Andrew Perpetua is on your side. He wants Ukraine to do an all-out campaign to plunge Russia into darkness and let them live the way that we're living. I don't think it's likely. I think that Ukraine is going to continue to avoid committing war crimes on a large scale, but it doesn't mean that a concerted bombing effort or drone effort against power substations and facilities that support military installations specifically is out of line. If a few towns and villages go offline too, maybe it's not much of a war crime. I don't know. That's a gray area that I don't want to get into. I'm going to trust the Ukrainians on that. Mill blogger Roman pleaded today on Telegram with the Russian people in Kursk, and he was specific with 4 areas of Kursk. He told them to get out now, to evacuate today, not to wait. According to him, the villages and towns held by the Ukrainians in these regions don't even exist anymore. They're already gone. Now, is it possible he's talking about a targeted carpet bombing campaign with glide bombs? Very possible. That's the most likely explanation, that he knows that carpet bombing campaign is coming and he's warning them to get out. Now, legitimately, these are contiguous regions that he talks about. Could it be that the Russians are finally going to light off a nuclear tactical device? And they're going to say to the world, there's nothing you can say about it because it's on our territory. I don't know. It seems unlikely to me. I think the glide bombs are probably the real answer. And we here in the West, we could solve this fucking glide bomb problem just by telling the Ukrainians that they can use ATACMS where and when they want. Now, there may be another solution coming in the form of these JSAMs or JASMs. These joint air-to-surface standoff munitions. These things have a range of between 370 and 980 kilometers. Right now, 80% of the Russian bases inside of Russia are being protected by NATO. They're being protected by NATO. Let's face facts. Because we're telling the Ukrainians, you can't hit them with our long-range weapons. And so they're not in range of the law, right? Everything, 80% of the bases the Ukrainians want to hit are outside the range of the weapons they have, but inside of the range of some of the weapons we've given them, but told them not to use. I swear to God, it's like the Garden of Eden, right? Oh, that beautiful apple tree right there. If you eat from it, you will die. Don't touch the apple tree. But I'm going to put it right here in the middle of the fucking garden. And then I'm going to put a woman in there too. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next. In updates on Proletarsk. In Rostov-on-Don, one of the largest oil product storage facilities used by the Russian army is on fire. It's been on fire for 8 days following a Ukrainian drone attack and then a subsequent drone attack. The fire is huge. $250 million worth of diesel, kerosene, and natural gas in the facility. The fire seems to have a 4th center now. A new diesel tank went up. It appears, if what local sources tell us is accurate, looking at the satellite imagery, it appears the kerosene tanks are next, and the natural gas storage facility. That stuff is far more explosive than the diesel that's been burning to date. And so if that stuff goes up, it's going to go up like fireworks. It's going to be quite a thing to see. For their part, the local fire people are saying that they're going to have the fire out in 2 days. We shall see. Pavel Durov, the inventor of Telegram, had an arrest warrant out in France for him, but he went to France anyway, where he was subsequently arrested. Now, one can ask, is the guy just so arrogant that he thought he was untouchable and they wouldn't arrest him? Or because he knows the FSB wants him too, could it be that he chose a comfy house arrest in Paris over the tender mercies of the FSB? I don't know the answer to that, and I don't really give a fuck. Because Telegram is a piece of shit application that nobody should use. They should call it Kremlingram. There's even there's a guy, Yaroslav Anzulny. He's a Ukrainian who's done a lot of great investigative journalism about the relationship between Telegram and the Kremlin. And the reality is that everything that happens on Telegram happens by the blessings of the FSB. And if the FSB wants to know about anything on Telegram, they're going to find out. They're absolutely going to find out. And what the French are saying is that his platform facilitated all kinds of criminal activity. And I feel certain that it did, and that he's very likely part of the problem. However, it is worth mentioning that the Russian military, now can you imagine being a military organization and outsourcing your secured communication to a public platform, even one that the FSB thinks they control? To me, that's insane. You know, with anytime you want to really secure communications, you gotta create those end-to-end encryption algorithms yourself, and then guard those keys. That's what you gotta do, and you can't have it be the kind of public key infrastructure that enables Telegram, because there's the opportunity for those keys to be released. Now, right now, we're living in a world where potentially the French could say to Pavel, look, we know that the Russian military has all these communication channels on your platform. We know they use them for everything from directing troop movements to setting artillery coordinates. No joke. This is the shit they use Telegram for. So we know the military does all this on your platform. What we'd like is the decryption keys for their channels. And maybe we'll grant you immunity for all these other problems that you've created. That conversation could very well be happening, which would explain why the Russians are suddenly interested in freedom of the press and the FSB is losing its shit over getting Durov back. So Pavel Durov is sitting in a comfy hotel suite in Paris, and my guess is he's having conversations that are going to determine the future of his life. Ukraine is, so we have seen a lot of innovation from the Ukrainians when it comes to helicopters and drones and warfare. So we recently saw the Ukrainians develop this methodology of taking $15 million Ka-52s out of action by flying drones into the tail rotors. Amazing, right? And we saw video footage of the Ukrainians taking out a Ka-52 that way, an Mi-8, and an Mi-28, if I'm not mistaken. So different kinds of attack helicopters. Now the Ukrainians are also using their own helicopters, particularly the Mi-8, to stalk and kill Shahed drones. So the helicopter picks up the drone, they follow it, the gunner takes the machine gun, shoots the thing down, and there's video now of this happening twice at least. So helicopters and drone warfare is a real thing. And just today, we saw a helicopter come down in the Kursk Oblast. Now, we don't know for sure that this was targeted using the drone approach. It may have been shot down with a man-pad. That is not clear. But for those of you playing Russian aerospace bingo, you can take another helicopter off your charts. In Kramatorsk, the Russians targeted a hotel where journalists stay. This is just like when they hit the Park Hotel in Kyiv. Or I'm sorry, in Kyiv. This is just like when they hit that. This is a hotel known to have journalists staying in it. And a Reuters employee by the name of Evans, I apologize, I don't have Mr. Evans' first name, A Reuters employee was unalived in the attack. The guy was a safety specialist, ironically, there to protect journalists. 2 other journalists were injured in that attack. For its part, Ukraine isn't sitting around feeling sorry for itself. Oh, no. Ukraine sent drones to strike the Omsk Gazprom Neft oil refinery. This is, to the best of my knowledge, the largest oil refining facility in all of Russia. So it's big. One of the cracking towers is on fire. Now, as I understand it, the cracking tower is where the heavy crude oil that's pulled out of the ground gets separated into its component elements. So gasoline kind of evaporates off to the top as a light thing. Gasoline, kerosene, crude oil, asphalt, right? You get these separations. The cracking tower is the heart and soul of a refinery. You hit that refinery goes offline. Now, this particular refinery has 2 cracking towers. So this should limit production there by 50%. And since the refinery is responsible for 6% of all oil refining in Russia, that's 3% of the country's capacity that's taken offline in this one hit. Very dramatic. Good news, following or on Ukraine Independence Day, we had which was just this past weekend, we had 115 POWs returned. So the first of the POWs inspired by the Kursk incursion are now home, and there's 115 of them. That's a good start. So everybody that follows this channel is aware that in the Kursk Oblast, the Ukrainian incursion is in control of about 1,250 square kilometers. However, there's an area of about 700 square kilometers south of the same river where about 3,000 Russians are trapped. The Ukrainians have blown the 3 bridges across the same river. The Russian troops down there in Kursk, south of that river, are surrounded on 3 sides by the Ukrainians and on the north by the river, which is impassable to them and their equipment. The Russians, for their part, keep sending engineering teams in to put up pontoon bridges. Today, we saw the 3rd pontoon bridge erected and destroyed. And the Ukrainians aren't just hitting the pontoon bridges. No. They're hitting the engineering equipment on the shore that puts the pontoon bridges in. So to date, the Ukrainians have destroyed all 3 bridges, permanent bridges. And now they have destroyed the 3 pontoon crossings that the Russians have tried to establish, as well as the engineering equipment used to do that. That means the practical implication of that is that you got about 2,700 Russian troops that can't get resupplied. They can't get food, they can't get weapons, they can't get more medical aid unless you send in helicopters. And so the potential exists for the Ukrainians to starve out and capture 2,700 more Russian POWs with very little actual combat. You can't fight a war with no bullets and no food. It's just that simple. Lukashenko is flip-flopping more than a fresh-caught trout by the side of the stream. This guy just 2 weeks ago said that all the problems and tension with Ukraine were over, and he was withdrawing all his troops from the border. Now he has sent 1/3 of the army to the border, along with howitzers and other offensive equipment. And this is a problem because this bastard cannot be trusted. Let's not forget that he absolutely colluded with the Russians and gave them permission to launch the attack against Kyiv from Belarusian territory. He may not have actively participated in the full-scale invasion, but he certainly fucking enabled it. Now I think he's looking at Kursk and he's nervous. He's also getting pressure from Putin to put the troops on the border in an effort to draw more Ukrainian troops away from the front line where they're less of a problem for the Russians. Well, Ukraine is having none of it and told him pointedly today, look, pull your shit back beyond firing range or we have a problem. So that is to say, if you got a rocket launcher or Grad or something up by the front line and it fires 20 kilometers into Ukraine, well, then you move it the fuck back 21 kilometers. Now, we'll see how Lukashenko takes this news or takes this directive from Kyiv, but that is what Kyiv has told him. Pull that shit out of there. Given this erratic behavior from Uncle Luka, I would suggest that maybe what Ukraine needs is a Belarusian buffer zone. Maybe Ukraine needs to push 25, 35 kilometers into Belarus and establish a front line to keep them back from firing range. You know, it's such a pain in the ass, right? It's not like the Ukrainians don't have enough to deal with the fucking Russians. You got to have this mosquito buzzing in your ear? It's outrageous. That helicopter that came down today in Kursk was an Mi-8. Again, we're not clear how it was taken down. But it does appear, based on what the mill bloggers are saying, that it was taken down, quote unquote, hard by the Ukrainians. Whether that means man pads or drones, we don't know. Ukraine captured a large ammo dump in Kursk. Now, that's a great thing to happen, right? Because it says the Russians left in a hurry. They didn't take the most critical thing with them or think to blow it up, but instead they left it for us. Oh, nice. Nice present. Early Christmas. Thank you, Akhmat Brigades. Apparently, the Abrams M1A1s are trashing Russian equipment in the Prokofsk direction. So video has emerged of the Abrams in battle in Prokofsk. The Ukrainians are using the Abrams to slow the advance of the Russians. That grinding pace is maybe right now, it has accelerated to about 5 kilometers a week, less than a kilometer a day. And it is costing the Russians so much. I mean, we can't even, they're up to 608,000 casualties now, according to the Ukrainians. But those numbers jive with MI6 and the American intelligence numbers. They're not far off. So give them hell in Prokofsk, Abrams. Now, this is unconfirmed, but Max 24 is reporting that in Crimea, a partisan group has slipped into the barracks of some Russians in Simferopol and given them old Colombian necktie. 18 of them, without waking anybody up, without raising an alarm, just in and out. Some quick and fast knife work. Dirty, down and dirty. If it's true, that's the kind of thing that strikes fear into the hearts of your enemies. When you wake up in your barracks and the people in the barracks next door don't, that'll shake you to the core. Now, there was a train fire in Yulivanovsk That's another engine that caught fire. Now, it appears there have been a number of these engine fires. And it appears that the cause in this case was an electrical fault in the engine. And that may be true, because we know the Russian railway is under a lot of pressure. There was, in fact, leaked audio recording of the head of the Russian railway. This came out about 20 days ago, in which he was saying that the entire Russian railway is near collapse. And he cited the main concern is that the ball bearings that they use, they are not made in Russia. They've got to get them from the West. And if they can't get those ball bearings, they can't replace them, shit stops moving. And according to this guy, the head of the Russian railway, it was within 100 days of collapse, and this is 20 days ago. Now, we saw that train fire from the electrical short today. We've seen steam engines coming online in Rostov. So the normal electric or diesel engines are being replaced in some places with 1940s and earlier steam engines to get people around. Multiple burning engines all across Russia we've seen. I had attributed to partisan activity, but partisans weren't taking credit for them. Some of them, but not all. And it appears that the others were legitimate technical failures. Again, this all comes back to the technology being sourced in the West and sanctions killing them. NATO did something smart and put an LTR-25 remote radar right on the Romanian border in Romania. It's right there. It's a kilometer from Ukraine, but it's in Romania. It's on NATO soil. Come and blow this up, Russia. Pretty pleased with sugar on top? They won't. They're not going to hit this. It's on NATO soil. But it is positioned in such a way as to give the Ukrainians high-grade intelligence over what's happening over the entire northwestern Black Sea. Coverage is like 44,000 square kilometers of the Black Sea all the way to Crimea. Putin changed the conscript law. So this is the thing about laws in Russia, right? They exist as long as they're convenient. And then as soon as they're not convenient for the people in charge, they simply change them without any consent, without any legislative process. Putin says the word, the legislature passes the new law. What does this law say? This law now says that conscripts can be sent to the front. So Putin is going to throw away an entire generation of 18 to 22-year-olds into his meat grinder. It's insanity. Finally, and Clay Fry, this is for you, because I know you like a joke. Putin has reinstated the hero medal for mothers who have 10 children or more, 10 or more. Not only do you get a hero medal, you get a $16,000 cash bonus for number 10. Now, I mean, that is just insanity to me. So for 10 children, you get a bonus of $16,000. Like with 10 children, you need a lot more than that. You're going to need that every year. And you get a hero medal, Medal of the Motherland. Anyway, so guys, again, I want to thank the sponsors of the Kyiv trip, particularly David Frazier from UA Flag Tesla, Tom Bates, Marilyn Fuller, Leo Ring, Roy Daniels, and Chris Carter. Thank you all so much. I've never asked Chris Carter if he's the Chris Carter of X-Files fame. That would make me so happy if it were. But that's all right, Chris. X-Files or not, you're a big help around here, pal. Thank you, all sponsors. I literally could not do it without you. I could not do it without the best moderator team on the Tickety Talk, Vanetta, Cheyenne, PT, Jay, and Travis. Thank you guys so much. And thanks to Nightshade, who has the Peters Peeps public group, where these lives get posted every day if you miss one. And with that, we will go to Q&A. Oh, and thanks to Vanetta Laird, who has the Google Doc share and the Dismantled Project 2025 group on Facebook. And thanks to Lars, who has the Alexievich archive and the Discord server. I don't know who Clarence Carter is, the Jedi. I don't know who Clarence Carter is. 8 to go ahead for a... Hey, Maddie Wright. Doing some cheerleading. And have you seen Hotel Just Been Destroyed in... I assume that's Kyiv tonight, and will be hell again for us probably. Hang in there, Ant. Something called stroke. Stick your right hand out. Give a firm handshake. Is that the one? Yeah, Clay, we got incoming. We heard the air alarm. I think you came on just after the air alarm. Not yesterday's hotel. This one has been destroyed just now. I didn't see that, Ant. Did you read where Aeroflot can't keep its pilots because of low salaries? They go to foreign carriers. There's going to be a tragedy in the Russian commercial airspace. It's going to happen. The bad weather is coming, and the two things are not going to mix. Jake Furs wants a quick summary of the news. I can do that. So the big news today is the largest missile and drone attack on Kyiv since the beginning of the war. On Ukraine since the beginning of the war. All kinds of civilian infrastructure were targeted. We were out of power here most of the day. The Kyiv Dam was targeted. That's 6.7 billion tons of water just waiting to wipe out the entire left bank of the Dnipro here in Kyiv, which is exactly what would happen. And take all those people with it. It's an ecocide event. In the Kursk direction, things are stable. The Russians lost another helicopter there today. All of the pontoon bridges across the Seine have been destroyed, and 3,000 Russian troops are trapped south of there. Okay, Robert Stewart, thank you for your content. I will support. Thank you, Robert Stewart. It would be great if you could join the Patreon, pal. I'm down. My income on Patreon is down about $200 a month right now. And that is my bread and butter. If you want to know how much I make, just go look at my Patreon. They've got plane shortages in Russia, pilot shortages in Russia, parts shortages in Russia. The 3 Ps you don't want for your plane. That's for sure. Sklinski made a joke about not picking up the phone if called by Polish president. I'm not sure what that's about. How bad was the damage to the dam? That's being assessed, Walter. That information may not be made public. I don't know the answer to that. And maintenance crew shortages too. What about the front line in Kursk? Stable. Slightly expanded in some places. Hello, Indiana. You know, guys, on the subject of Kursk, I wanted to tell this story. I meant to finish the news with this. because it was deeply meaningful to me. You know, when I was out in Kyiv, I had the great good fortune of spending a lot of time with a member of the Foreign Legion, British guy. And this guy was involved in some of the heaviest fighting down in Donetsk that the war has seen. And he was there during the hard time, the shell hunger time, the ammo hunger time, when the front line was dotted with just enough guys to attrit the Russians as they tried to advance, take the casualties, then fall back. Attrit the Russians, fix them, fall back. Attrit the Russians, fix them, fall back. Right? Meter by grinding meter for 8 fucking months, while the maggot Republicans in the House of Representatives held up aid to this country. Make no mistake, the blood of Ukrainians is on their hands. But this soldier told me these stories of being outgunned, undermanned, sometimes outnumbered 10-1, and still getting up every day, my words, being asked to do the impossible, and going out and doing it because it's their job. Like, amazing, right? And this soldier seemed to have some anger toward command. He seemed to resent the fact that they had been asked to do these impossible things, and that they kept asking them to do these impossible things, and nobody explained why they were doing these impossible things without the equipment needed to do these impossible things. And he had some resentment of management for that. Until Kursk. And then all of a sudden for him, he could do the math. And while I wouldn't say that he was happy with this knowledge, he was satisfied. He could look at that front line where he was one of the few who was asked to stay on this skeleton crew of underarmed, underprovisioned, undermanned front, and said, hold them back. Hold them back. Fix them here. Attrit them here. Keep them from moving forward. And they did it for 8 months. Meanwhile, his compatriots were off in NATO countries getting training for combined arms maneuver. And then they came back and they did this. Walked right into Russia. Took 1,000, 1,200 square kilometers and have 3,000 troops trapped. And are on the territory of Russia, eating, sleeping, and waking up there every day for 3 weeks. It's miraculous. Who would have thought for 1 second that the 3-day military operation to take Kyiv would result with the Ukrainians billeting inside 1,000 square kilometers of Russia for 3 weeks? And it's just the beginning. They're not going anywhere. The mud season is coming. The response to the Kursk incursion is in the words of General Ben Hodges, if I may quote the gentleman, because I thought it was so good: slow, chaotic, ineffective. What other words did he use? But well, those are good ones right there. And I know he said those things. So the Russians don't have a mobile reserve to respond to this incursion. They are stretched so thin, they don't know what to do. And their initial response is causing more friendly fire incidences than actual interactions of combat between the Ukrainians and the Russians. So, in my mind, this is all very bad news for the Russians. Though today, of course, was not good news for the people of Ukraine. There's no doubt about that. Germany collapsed when they ran out of fuel for their vehicles. Exactly, dude. When is Ukraine going to rename Kursk to the Commonwealth of Ukraine? They're not, Dark Irish. They're holding a referendum, and then the people will vote to name it Ukraine. Ukraine. That's our hashtag. Dave Frazier started using that hashtag. Hashtag Ukraine. Use it in everything. Thank you, PT. Staying safe. Hey, Dusty. Hey, Nicola. Oh, pardon me. The horrific attacks by Russia into many Ukrainians in cities on the front line in Kursk. Oh, yeah, they're going to level it. They're just going to level everything. Now, whether they're going to do that with a series of glide bomb attacks or they're just going to toss in, a 4-kiloton nuclear tactical device, we'll see. But they are not taking it well. Tefal, we don't have news that the F-16 is going to be used in Ukraine. What we have is Zelensky saying that the response to last night's missile and drone attack on Ukraine would be powerful and may involve F-16s in Kursk. That is all I got, pal. Did you see Ukraine's new missile drones that can hit long-range targets made in Ukraine? I did, Clay. And it was one of the stories I wanted to cover today, but I just didn't have the chance. Also, the amount of information available about it is a little bit less than I would like. So I'm hoping that tomorrow I'll get to that and we'll be able to do a deep dive into that tomorrow night. Hey, Blue Ariels. Poland is looking for the right excuse. I wish that were the case, Walter, because today they had a Russian drone explode on their territory. They're scrambling their fighters every time this happens. They've got the excuse. There's a casus belli right there if they want to use it. But I don't think they're gonna. They hit Moldova. Any response? Now, I don't know about anything going into Moldova. I don't know about that at all. My understanding was that the drone that went astray today landed in Poland. But I will take a look, Maddie, and if something landed in Moldova, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Russia's running out of armor and artillery. Yes, they are. Palanitsa. That's what they're calling it, Dave. Yep. The Pokrovsk salient, I assume you mean Pokrovsk, salient is certainly worth keeping an eye on, Dave. But, to quote General Hodges again, he's very skeptical about how important it is. And I rather tend to agree. In the time that the Russians took what? Let's call it 15 square kilometers on the road to Pokrovsk. The Ukrainians have taken nearly 1,500 square kilometers in Kursk. Maddie, we all worry about how many Ukrainian soldiers are being unalived. That's a real thing. Ukraine, no space. Interesting. I forgot the other part of the new news. What's the other part of the new news? What did I forget? Ukraine is easy, right? It's fun. It's easy. Novokraine. Russian channels are talking about boats in Odessa. I don't know what that's about. The tires on the jets, the tires on the vehicles, they're all there so that the drones bounce off. I'm not even kidding. That is the whole idea, is so that the drones bounce off. if you can imagine. That is what they're doing. Hey, Juanpa, how you doing, pal? We've got just about 8 minutes left, guys. So I'll take any final thoughts from anybody. I also want to again thank the moderator team, Cheyenne, Vanetta, PT, Jay, and Travis. I want to thank the sponsors of the Kyiv trip, David Frazier from UA Flag Tesla, Tom Bates, Marilyn Fuller, Leo Ring, Roy Daniels, and Chris Carter, probably not of the X-Files fame. Thank you to Nightshade, who has the Peters Peeps public group over on the Book of Faces, where these lives get reposted every day. And thanks to Vanetta, who's got the Google Doc share, where our letters for unrestricted use of ATACMS, no-fly zone west of the Dnipro, can be found to Congress, the Senate, and the White House. Americans, please use them. And big thanks to Lars, who has the Alexievich archive and the Discord server. Magical, after the bombardment by Russia today, or yesterday rather, yes, Ukraine is ready to give some of it back. And Zelensky is promising a powerful response. Now we'll see what form that takes in the next 48 to 24 hours. We love your news, but please take care of yourself. I'm talking to the universe every night. What the fuck? Okay, Russell, thank you, I guess. Great job, everybody. Thank you. Thank you guys for all of the likes, all the shares, all the gifts, all the support. Bip, I'm with you. Hit Moscow. Hit Moscow. I am not opposed. I am interested in your opinions, and I would like to subscribe to your newsletter, Bip. Is that Bip or is it Veer? Target Putin's palaces. I'm with you. Hey, G2. Hey, Webadev. I vote take out every oil refine, every effing one of them. Hey, Brian. Good night. It seemed to me that Ukraine wants Russia to be out of its complacency. It seems to me that Ukraine wants Russia to be out of its complacency by its public. Yeah, we have a real problem, Magical, just like with maggots in the United States, who are programmed to believe things that are not true. It's the same problem with the Russian population. There is a deep dysfunction. The Russian culture is sick. Is St. Petersburg the center of government for Russia? No, Moscow is. Natural gas. Okay. Pardon me. Pardon me. We still got 5 minutes. Oh, this is what Ant was talking about. Breaking. Russians just struck Kryvyi in the Dnipropetrovsk region, Dnipropetrovsk region, devastating a hotel. Preliminary reports indicated it was filled with innocent civilians. That's Zelensky's hometown. So it's a favorite punching bag for the Russians. And civilian targets like that are de rigueur. Zelensky called Putin a sick old man. Well, he is, assuming he's still alive. Assuming he's still alive. Okay. Guys, we have 4 minutes. Final thoughts, final questions, anything? How did I end up in Ukraine? Midnight, there's a couple of videos pinned at the top. One of them is called Who I Am, I think, or something like that. But those pinned videos will tell the whole story. It's a long story, and most people here have heard it multiple times. Tafal, when Putin is officially unalived, all hell breaks loose. A power vacuum opens, and the very worst people in Russia will try to slit each other's throats to get into the job. It's insanity. It's a tournament-style society. It's a Darwinist society is what it is. Thank you, Walter. Good night, Eli. Thank you, Kaz. Well, we'll see about that. Last night was loud. Tonight's likely to be loud, too. Did we hit 70K? Wow, you guys are stupid. Just, what is that? No, I'm just kidding. I know the likes really mean a lot to the algorithm. So I appreciate it. I appreciate all the tapping. Thank you very much. I'm as safe as anybody in this city. Me. Thank you, Blue Silk Ariels. Thank you, Samso. The likes do help promote, which I did not know when I first started doing this, Fitz. But it was Lars that really was the first cheerleader for this, get the likes going. And it really makes a difference. You know, I mean, you guys know I'm just joking, right? But seriously, every night after the live is over, I get a text from TikTok. And because of those likes, I'm told that my live gets more likes than 96, 97, even 98% of all other lives with similar followings. And that's very meaningful to the algorithm and meaningful to me. Hego, that is the question. How many missiles does Russia have left? Now, the good news is on all these cruise missiles that are coming in, the production dates are in the last 3 months. So they're using the missiles they built this quarter, which is not usually how it goes. Those ATACMs they're using of ours have production dates of 86, 87, 88 through the 90s. So I don't know how much they have left. I don't know where you got that £1 billion number. I figured it was probably about 144 million. I don't know that it was £1 billion. I mean, the most expensive thing were the Kinzhals. If I'm not mistaken, there were 4 of them. They're $2 million a piece. That's only 8 million right there, and that was the most expensive thing. The Shahed's only 250,000 a piece, and there were 109 of them. And the average cost on the remaining missile types is about $1 million. So that's about 127 million. Oh, wow. You guys are nuts. Stop it. All right, I'm stopping it now. Is it midnight yet or 1 o'clock? It's 1 o'clock. We're done. Stop your tapping. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't know if 80K is the record. It might be. Is Lars here? Lars would probably know. Lars, is 80-something K our record? Did we break a like record tonight? No, the record's 100. Yeah, the record's 100. That's all right. We don't have to break a record tonight. All right, guys, thanks for being there for me. Please consider joining the Patreon if you haven't. I really could use a little more help with that. And thanks again to our sponsors. The Kharkiv trip was deeply meaningful to me, and I appreciate it, everybody. Thanks, guys. Make it a great day.